Hi, hello, welcome to our fourth episode of Sharpest Tool here. It's called Stop the Bleeding. This is our halfway mark through the season, so it'll be an 8-episode season. I'm very excited to get into it. We have a lot to get to tonight. Hopefully this goes just as smoothly as last week. Last week was a breeze. It was beautiful. Sims was really working with us. That was fantastic. I think Sims should still be okay. I don't know if it'll go as smoothly as the last one. I don't have it as fully scripted out, so I'm sorry if I am a little bit clunkier than my rapid fire dialogue last week. I had some actual real life responsibility school things to finish up today that I didn't end up having the mental energy to finish last night, so I didn't have the entire afternoon to dedicate to writing the episode like I usually have for the Friday series but it's fine. I know at least the story beats we're gonna get to, so hopefully it goes all right. I'm just always a little more nervous when I'm less prepared, but I think it'll be okay. Let's go ahead and shift on over to our game screen then, where we left off last time. So our main three are a part of the league now officially. They went through their indoctrination ceremony. Their induction into the league officially, but of course, as we know, 𝕾𝖍𝖆𝖗𝖕, the headmaster here, has got a little bit of a side project going on that he's had Caesar bring some people into, and it's been a little bit since he's kind of brought that up, and hasn't really had a meeting with all of the people that are involved in that yet, so that's exactly what he's doing late at night tonight, now that they have found a minute for all of them to gather away from the rest of the league's eyes. As sorry, it was on my script, not Sims when I hit tab. As 𝕾𝖍𝖆𝖗𝖃 has gathered all of the Sims here that Caesar has brought into the know on their plans. So 𝕾𝖍𝖃 is going to actually address them for the first time. You know, he doesn't usually address some of the more underlings usually, but knowing that this is the group that Caesar's kind of brought into the know on some of his, secret plans, he's kind of wanting to at least talk to all of them in a group, addressing them as such, saying, "So I understand you all are the collective Caesar's put together to carry out our plan to reinstate the League of Protectors. I thank you all for your loyalty and discretion." As Caesar tacks onto that, saying, "Yes, sir, these are the members that I believe have shown the most ability, both in skill and secrecy." 𝕾𝖍𝖃 kind of giving a critical eye over the group here, landing on Clementine at the end, kind of scowling a little bit, saying nepotism aside, to which Clementine, of course, is glaring right back at him about Caesar somewhat nervously looking between the two, saying, "Yes, sir, Clementine has killer reflexes and knows how to rally a group when she needs to." 𝕾𝖍𝖃 not necessarily believing Caesar's comments about his sister there, but moving on all the same, saying, "I see, and how is that going?" Clementine jumping right onto it to prove her worth here, as she knows for sure that she deserves to be here, saying, "Yes, good sir, there's a couple of other intermediates that I see something in, plus I heard a couple of them bitching about Florence the other day." So 𝕾𝖍𝖃 just kind of squinting and cutting her off before she can ramble too long, asking, and their interest? As Clementine starts to fidget a little bit at that, saying, "Well, I haven't really had the time to talk to them quite yet," but 𝕾𝖍𝖃 cutting her off once again, just completely moving on from her, saying, "Right, how are things going with you?" Pointing to the blonde-haired man next to her, as Clementine kind of fumes a little bit at being somewhat disregarded in the group here. Isaiah kind of looking between Clementine and 𝕾𝖍𝖃, sort of pointing to himself like, "Me?" Dimitri just squinting, not wanting to have to ask twice, as Isaiah continues. Oh, good, Your Honor. I mean, there's a couple of real meaty dudes from the league that are my football friends that seem kind of interested in the idea. I mean, I haven't said anything about it, any kind of specific plan or anything, of course, just like the idea in general. I see you thought sounded cool. Dimitri also squinting at him and saying, right, I should hope not. All right, continue to speak with your fellow members and see who might have an interest that you think would be worthy enough to be officially promoted to protector. Now, Yazmin, how are things going on your end? Caesar kind of raising an eyebrow at that, as he's, Dimitri's right-hand man, so he kind of had a general idea of what the game plan of this meeting was going to be, but that's not really on the agenda as far as Caesar was aware. Yazmin jumping right into it, though, smiling, saying, well, things are going well with Birdie. They're more closed off than I was planning for, but I'm taking things slowly, not to scare them off. I've sensed they're skeptical, perhaps, of Florence, so I have a good feeling about it, and working the science angle seems to be getting me closer to them. Dimitri kind of smiling at that, kind of being the first bit of real progress he's kind of hearing here. Continuing on, saying, excellent, keep working at it. Lena and Blake, keep getting closer to your fledglings as well, although I feel less confident they'd be open to our cause, but let me know if you find different, as Lena and Blake are kind of giving each other somewhat confused, kind of concerned looks at each other now, to Lena jumping in, saying, wait, sorry, are we supposed to be working on the fledglings as well? Caesar kind of jumping in now, being like, yeah, sir, I don't remember this being a part of the brief. Dimitri tisking at him, kind of rushing Caesar off, of course, just like, that's because it wasn't. I think it could be beneficial, and talks with Yazmin have shown me that she agrees. People less in their ways might be simpler to get to join us. Lena kind of jumping in again, though, is still kind of concerned hearing this new knowledge, saying, but they're just barely honing their skills, though. I'm all for protecting people, but noticing her kind of trail off and lose a bit of her esteem, Blake also jumps in there, kind of concerned, saying, but they're so green, wouldn't it be against the clause to protect? To Dimitri just immediately cutting him off, tired of the insolence, saying, don't question my decision if you want to remain in the loop. This meeting is concluded. Drone to Caesar with any further complaints about how I'm running my league, as Dimitri, of course, will absolutely shut everything down immediately and fly off, as he is prone to do here. Caesar seeming a little bit concerned as well, perhaps for different reasons that Lena and Blake are, but kind of shooting a look at Yazmin as well, since clearly the idea that she brought to him about bringing in some of the newer members perhaps has made it to Dimitri without Caesar being the intermediary. Yazmin just kind of giving a smirk at him, as if to say, checkmate, perhaps. We come back, of course, to our little sorority house. It is owned by Maya and Birdie, of course, former sorority house, as last time they finally busted open that attic that they discovered in the old blueprints, and are up here doing a little bit of research. It's been a couple days since then, and so they've been doing a lot of research up here as much as they possibly can, especially Birdie. Birdie has definitely been absolutely poring over all of the information and knowledge up here left by the old vampire leader of the sorority, Diana, that Florence was telling them about. There's a lot of books and binders and research and notes about things that Diana was working on and experimenting with, and so Birdie has just been spending as much time as possible up here, poring over everything, trying to get a grasp of maybe what Diana was working on, and Maya's been helping out when she can, but it's definitely a bit of a tedious task, and there's a lot of really in-depth science behind a lot of Diana's research as well that Maya doesn't necessarily understand. She's got, the math brain and such, but Birdie is definitely more of the one with the science brain out of the two of them. So as much as Maya likes research and facts and stuff, some of it's a little over her head, so she's been spending a little bit less time trapped up here, but understands Birdie's want to kind of look through as much as possible. And so on this evening, they've been up here quite a while looking at stuff, and Maya's attention span is definitely starting to wane a little bit as she is, Thanks, Sims. As the words are starting to kind of blur on the page as she is watching, but luckily she might have a little out here as Lynx is going to kind of climb up the stairs, peeking in. Birdie's still completely really enthralled in whatever tome they're in the middle of looking through. As Lynx kind of peeks her head up, though, being like, yo, Birdie, nerdy, Vampire High is about to start. Are we joining? Or Maya just kind of rolling her eyes at the quick little affectionate nickname that Lynx has been using lately for her, as Maya is like, oh goodness, yeah, I'll be down in just a second, it's already that late, as really kind of registered what Lynx said, but they're still pretty, you know, in-depthly paying attention to whatever they're reading at the moment, and Lynx is like, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's starting in like T-minus 30 seconds, so you guys have been up here for hours and hours, so if you would like to finally take a break and come join me, as Maya is putting away the tome that she is in the middle of looking at, looking over to Birdie, trying to get their attention, like, yep, Bird, as Birdie's kind of like, I don't understand why you two have gotten so into that show, as Lynx is like, you know, now that we are actually vampires, it's more amusing to see how much wrong they get. And Maya's like, yeah, it's like a research of its own, a research of what not to do. And Birdie is like, I mean, okay, have fun with your trashy television. As Maya's like, okay, you don't have any room to call it trash. Remember that weekend that you made me watch all of season 2 of Vanderpump Rules in one sitting? I don't want to hear it. Birdie just quipping back, like, first of all, that is a cinematic masterpiece. And second of all, I'll join you guys in a minute. Okay, let me just finish with this, okay? And Lynx being like, all right, whatever. Your lots, I hear this corny theme song starting, so I'm gonna dip. Maya, unless you need any, you know, spotting as you make it down the ladder, klutz. Maya just being like, I can make it down the ladder by myself. Fine, thank you. Lynx just kind of muttering back as she climbs down the ladder, like, yep, definitely didn't just fall flat on your ass a couple days ago, but okay, see you later, nerd. As, Maya realizes that Birdie has definitely just kind of gone back to being directly invested right in whatever they were reading again. Maya being like, Birdie, please, it's been hours. You spent like the past 5 days up here. We never see you anymore. Just take a little bit of a break, okay? Just come watch the show with us. Birdie kind of knowing that their friend is right and saying, yeah, you just know how I get when I get stuck on something that I can't solve. I have to complete it before I can let my brain get off of it. And as Maya says, no, I know that, but you also usually don't end up coming up with any solutions until you do let your brain take a minute off of it and give it a rest for a little bit. Birdie kind of sighing, of course, knowing that their best friend is right on that, as Birdie's like, okay, yeah, it has been a while. Let me just finish this one that I'm on right now. There's only a couple pages left. I should just at least put this one to rest before I call it a night, okay? I'll join you right as soon as I finish this one, okay? Promise. Maya looking a little bit skeptically at them as their friend gives them the puppy dog eyes and like kisses Maya's hand really quick. It's like, promise I'll be done as soon as I'm finished reading this one. Maya just kind of rolling her eyes, but not wanting to miss too much of the show that she reluctantly has gotten pretty into as well. Being like, all right, fine. Finally going down the ladder as well and joining Lynx downstairs, who is, we'll pretend, is already on the couch watching the trashy teen vampire drama show that they have begun watching lately in the household. Lynx realizing that Maya is kind of coming down the stairs alone, raising an eyebrow, being like, is Birdie joining? Or Maya kind of rolling her eyes back as well, saying, honestly, probably not. Oh, come on. Honestly, probably not. They said they'll join after they finish that book, and there's only a couple pages left, but I've seen how long it takes them to pour over 5 pages before, so we'll be lucky if they catch the end credits, honestly. Lynx chuckling a little, I mean, like, Jesus, have they even had anything to eat, like, eaten it all today? It's been hours. I'd be like, yeah, no, that's a good point. We should make sure that we bring a plaza pack up to them later just to make sure, but oh. It's hard-pressed to convince them to stop things sometimes, even if it would be better for them to give it a rest for a minute. Let's have them sit on the other couch, maybe.
Then I'm gonna twist this on and watch. It chops the chicken, dices the apples, and mixes everything together all at once in 4.
As Lynx kind of quips back at Maya, like, all right, I mean, you sure you wouldn't rather... Stop it. Sure you wouldn't rather be up there continuing to research with them? I wouldn't really peg you as someone who'd want to stop poring over nerdy books and facts to watch a shitty teen drama. As Maya, like, without thinking too much, just kind of quotes back like, yeah, well, I wouldn't expect, I wouldn't necessarily think that someone, you know, as cool and emo as you would be into something as trite and melodramatic as Vampire High. Maya, of course, starting to kind of blush a little bit as she looks away, realizing that she did kind of quit back without thinking about it too much, but Lynx is just kind of, raises an eyebrow at her, but smirking back a little bit, saying, right, I'll give you that one. Maya just blushing a little bit harder and saying, Truce while we watch the show. Okay, Lynx just rolling her eyes as well, saying, like, all right, yeah, Truce, as they get invested in their favorite shitty drama. We are at the perimeter of campus again, near the woods, of course, as the sun is just starting to rise. It is very, very early morning before everyone's day is getting started, but Clementine is over near the woods yet again, having a little bit of a meeting before it gets too bright out, as she just confidently starts to kind of walk in before getting stopped by this man here being like, whoa, 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 wait a second. As Clementine's already just rolling her eyes, trying to just immediately push past, but he's like, just hold it there. What are you can't just walk into our camp. Aren't you one of the League members? As Clementine rolls her eyes and is like, oh my god, move it, underling. I don't have time for you. As he's immediately pushing back, of course, too, saying, you can't just walk in and talk to Mother at any time that you want. Clementine immediately, like, trying to just, like, hold back a laugh at him actually calling Aster that. As she's like, she's expecting me, okay? How dare you? As Aster does walk up and is like, all right, Finn, yes, she's here to see me. Move along. Did I tell you to guard here? Move along, please. Him acting a little petulant and kind of being told off by Mother, of course, as he just kind of grumbles, yes, run quickly, running away, of course, as Clementine rolls her eyes like, Jesus, Esther being like, just come back here. The sun's already starting to rise this morning. You couldn't have cut it any closer to daytime. Clementine saying, sorry, I'm busy. I'm a busy woman, you know. Hard to fit this into my schedule. As Aster takes a seat back at her campfire, of course, not wanting to waste any time as the sun is quickly rising, just saying, all right, do you have it? Clementine going ahead and taking a seat next to her and saying, yep, right here, patting her puffy coat there as Aster starts to reach her hand out for whatever Clementine's brought her, as Clementine goes, kind of closing her jacket up a little bit more. I'm not stupid, and I know you aren't either. Give me what I want first. Aster saying, and let you run away without giving me the text? Clementine just rolling her eyes, saying, your bitchy underling out there will stop me if I attempt to. We're on your turf, remember? Esther, seeing that she has a point, saying, "Fine, hero, get out here," as one of the other members of the camp, the man looking a little bit confused, goes ahead and joins them here at the dwindling campfire. As he looks a little confused, a little bit scared, but mainly intrigued. Esther addressing him, saying, "Remember how I told you that I wasn't just gonna let you get away with murdering that girl at the perimeter and drawing attention to us?" The fear kind of starting to come up on his face a little bit more now as he does slowly nod in understanding. Esther saying, "Right, well, it's time to pay up." As he takes a bit of a big gulp as Clementine kind of gives a somewhat devious smirk at him as well before finally reaching into her jacket and pulling out a scroll to hand to Esther. In the training room again that afternoon as we are being led through another meditation, but not Florence this time. It is actually just Lena, and not just leading Maya through it, but all three of our leads over here are doing a little bit of meditating. Birdie is concentrating but seeming to have like a little bit of difficulty. Maya's very invested in this as of course, as this is kind of the niche that she's sort of found herself becoming most interested in, and Lynx is entirely kind of bored by this as Lena is kind of trying to guide them all through calming themselves, calming their emotions, you know, sort of echoing sentiments that Florence was telling Maya last time. Of being like, you know, just try and make sure your mind is absolutely blank. Just focus on peace and tranquility. Just get in tune with yourself. Make sure that you're really just keeping yourself calm. And the more you practice, the more you'll get used to having control over all that's going inside of your mind. All of that, and eventually you'll be able to really harness those powers and won't even need the little meditation skills we've given you, as Lena herself is pretty much a master at a lot of the more mental aspect of things at this point, actually floating in the air, kind of impressing those left over here, although Lynx is kind of peeking at her phone every now and then, Blake sort of glaring at her, making like a knock it off. Whoa, Lynx just kind of rolling her eyes at him as he does so. Maya definitely the most impressed by Lena showing off there, being like, "Oh, wow." Lena saying, "See, that's what comes after that weightless feeling. I know it's scary to let go, but it's so cool once you learn how to just master that and be able to do that whenever you want. And it's a great way to really make sure that you're keeping yourself calm, keeping all of those more primal urges subdued, keeping yourself in normal form. And eventually you'll be able to do that whenever you would like, just like me." As Maya is kind of listening to what she's saying, Lena's saying, "You felt that feeling before, haven't you, Maya?" Maya's saying, "Yeah, the past couple of times I've tried, I have kind of gotten to that point." Hello? Lena's saying, "That is amazing for someone that is such a low level still, that there's clearly a lot of power in you. Florence was right." As Maya is definitely kind of blushing, but happy under the amount of praise, as Birdie is listening to what's going on, but they still just have no idea exactly what those other two are talking about, because that is nowhere near what they are feeling, and still having a pretty hard time actually being able to calm their brain, find a center away from all of the different thoughts that are kind of clamoring around in their head about everything thus far, as Lynx also sort of pops back up saying, "Alright, that's nice, but for people who don't like to be bored all of the time, like Maya, can we get into something a little bit more physical, maybe?" As Lena's like, "Hey, both are very important in being able to hone in your skills," as Blake kind of echoes her sentiments, saying, "Yes, I understand, Lynx, but it's important for you to be able to keep yourself under control as well, so you don't just pop out the fangs every time you're feeling a little fighty anyways." But on the other hand, kind of calling everyone over as Lena sort of steps to the side, her bit of training here being done. Now Maya kind of gulping a little bit as both her and Birdie step up. Blake kind of joining Lynx in the center here. Blake continuing on the other hand, the physical aspect is also important. Listen, y'all are a lot harder to hurt now that you got all these powers going on, but you're not invincible, especially when it comes to things like wood and silver. You can be killed. You are not immortal. So, although we are mainly here to be able to protect and keep our powers under, we're not really here to fight people. You need to be able to know how to do so in case someone tries to fight you, alright? We don't need to be finding any of you winding up dead, and I would like if you were all able to protect yourselves, along with having that mental calmness to keep things under check, okay? And so knowing that Lynx is one of the people that, you know, out of the three has the most physical capability at this point, and is really itching to just kind of show off some of the physical training that her and Blake have been doing lately. He'll go ahead and let Lynx do a little bit of sparring with him first. Oh, I didn't check if they have their same athletic wear during their dark forms, so let's just hope that they do. They don't look a mess. But Blake will say, all right, you know, Lynx, why don't you show the other two how it's done real quick. Not that I'm not going to kick your ass still. You're not, you know, you're not all that quite yet, but we'll let the other two kind of prepare themselves a little longer first, as Lynx is like, oh, bring it on. You know, maybe she has a lot less training than Blake at this point, but she's got the gusto, she's got the spirit, and, you know, isn't going to back down from a little bit of a tussle with her old friend here as the two kind of get into it. Of course, Blake beating her, though. You know, Blake just kind of laughing, helping her up, saying, you've come a long way, but I still got a couple years on you, a couple, you know, levels of skill on you, girl, okay? And not that I was going to go easy on you, even if we're just still training. What do you two say? As Maya and Birdie both look a little bit terrified, but knowing they're not going to be able to get out of this, as Blake kind of ushers both of them up to try a little bit of sparring as well. Lena just continuing to watch on, amused, as both of them, we'll let them do a little vampire spar here. Ooh, look, a tiny bit that I'm not scripting just because I don't know who's going to end up winning this spar. But we'll let them do one of their own. As Lynx and Blake step aside a little bit, Lynx, of course, throwing a little cutting remark at them, just being like, all right, good luck, you know, Birdie, my money's on you, because the klutz can barely walk, so I don't know if she's gonna fight that well. Maya just being like, oh my god, shut up. She's just trying to kind of find her center and get into it as well. So we will let these two, though they've had a bit less of physical trainings, that's kind of not what they're focusing on. Maya definitely being a bit more partial to the mental skills at this point, as that seems to be what she's excelling at, and Birdie not really having trained on a lot of things. You know, they've been doing a lot of research and spending time up in Diana's little workspace, but they've not been doing a lot of training on either area, and seem to kind of still be fumbling around in both of them. Lynx definitely enjoying watching both of her roommates sort of flounder around there, having even less form than Lynx does, as, oh, it looks like Birdie ended up kind of winning there, as Lynx kind of nudges Blake like, yeah, see, I told you so, total klutz. Maya just kind of scowling over at her, but Birdie being like, sorry, I didn't. You know, are you okay? Maya's like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Definitely need some more practice on that. Lena making sure that her trainee is alright as well. As Blake is like, okay, alright, good show, you know, there's still potential, and that it's a good place to start to at least make sure that you guys can take care of yourselves, and I don't have to worry about y'all being, overtaken out there by any other, foe that you may come across. You know, not everyone is as friendly as we are out there. as Maya seems a little bit empowered a little bit. It was a little bit fun to, you know, kind of start to use some more of the powers and show off a tiny bit, even if she did lose. Birdie's still feeling a little bit out of themselves, not really sure how they feel about expressing some more of these vampiric powers. But as the clock is ticking here, Lena and Blake are like, all right, you know, it's time. Let's wrap this up for today. Lena's saying, yes, no, it was a lot of good progress. You know, you guys are coming along beautifully. Let us know if there's any other specific things that you would like to focus on, of course. But for now, you know, we can call it a day for today. Blake calling out to them saying, would you like to go pretend to get froyo with us, as Lena and I like to do sometimes. Both Lynx and Maya kind of raising their eyebrows. Maya saying, but I thought we can't eat human food. Blake saying, yes, that's why we pretend to eat while we're there. But it's fun to pretend that we're one of the normal students sometimes, I guess. Still fun to hang out there, so you down? Lynx just being like, yeah, totally. Maya kind of nodding, saying, yeah, sure, I guess I could use something to cool down a little bit. Birdie, though, kind of hanging back, just saying, that's okay, you guys go on ahead. I got a couple things that I wanted to finish up and look into here while over at the lair. As Blake's like, all right, yeah, you're lost. Ladies, let's go. As him and Lena and Maya and Lynx go ahead and walk out. Maya kind of shooting a look over at Birdie as she leaves, but Birdie's like, it's okay. Knowing that Maya is a little concerned with how much research that Birdie has been doing lately, but Birdie just, you know, saying like, go have fun. As the other four go ahead and leave, and Birdie walks over to, well, let's just pretend there's nothing in the cauldron. Wait, here. Will this work? It didn't. But Birdie deciding to kind of walk over to the cauldron once the rest of them are sort of headed out for the afternoon here. Let me just get the rest of them on out of the training room. As Birdie has been looking through Diana's stuff a lot in the attic, of course, but as they said in the last episode, most of the resources up there are a bit outdated and a little bit hard to actually start to do any of the experimentation on, and so Birdie knows that there's a lot more resources that are more up to date and in function, higher function here at the League's lair over here. Let's just pretend that they're not putting like food ingredients in there, as they're kind of trying to follow some of the sort of hard to follow recipes that Diana has sort of scrawled out, trying to figure out what exactly they're about, as they can understand some of the science going on in a lot of Diana's notes that they've been scouring through, but honestly they just kind of need to start putting some things into practice to figure out what the hell is actually going on, or what Diana was trying to figure out, because while she took detailed notes, it's not like she necessarily wrote down exactly what she was trying to figure out. So Birdie's just taking some time while there's not really anyone else around to follow the ingredients as best that they can from what's written there, see if they can make a little bit more progress, having any kind of practical hands-on experience with that. They've been doing a little bit of the spell potion work with Yazmin, their pledge into the League, of course, but, you know, nothing really of this level. As speaking of, Yazmin kind of walks into the lair and sees that Birdie is sort of experimenting on their own over here, being like, oh, hey, you should have called me if, you know, you were going to be doing any training. As Birdie jumps a little bit, really lost and focused, as their mentor sort of comes up and joins them here, looking into the pot, raising an eyebrow, whatever Birdie is making. As Yazmin just kind of continues on saying, yeah, I mean, I told you magic can mesh well with the science. It's like working with chemistry, yeah? Birdie kind of nodding along, saying, yeah, kinda, I guess. And Yazmin taking an even closer look, saying, I mean, I'd go for the vial on the left instead, though based on the consistency you already have brewing here. What are you trying to make anyways? Birdie getting a little bit nervous, not exactly sure what they want to respond with, just saying, I'm just kind of experimenting and trying to learn, really, as Yazmin takes a closer look, kind of grabbing a couple of ingredients from the shelf over there for herself to throw into the pot, saying, it looks kind of like a transfiguration potion, kind of off though, let me help. Birdie not really wanting them to, but not wanting to raise any suspicion about what they're doing by telling her no. So as Yazmin continues to just kind of talk, staying on this side over here, being like, are you working off of a spell book? Birdie is still being vague, but saying not really, just trying to kind of kick some of their notes from Diana's binder back into their bag as Yazmin gets closer to the pot again with a couple of other vials, sort of throwing some things in here. Just trying to make sure that Yazmin didn't really see the papers that Birdie was glancing down at on the floor there. Yazmin saying, well, I mean, I would suggest following a recipe while you're still learning. How are you liking it so far? Birdie responding, it's definitely interesting, a little difficult to get the hang of, though. Yazmin chuckling along saying, yeah, but I believe in you. You're like a genius, and I'm happy to help as much as you need along the way. What's the goal of your concoction? Birdie just is still wanting to be a little reserved in what they're telling their pledge here with, I don't know, just experimenting, like I said. Yazmin's starting to push a little bit more as she's also adding something else in, going, I mean, come on, there has to be some kind of goal in that genius head of yours. Birdie not really wanting to continue this line of questioning at this point, too, just saying, no, seriously, just experimenting and learning. As Yazmin is realizing that she's not going to get any farther with Birdie here, going, no problem. Maybe you weren't trying to do something there, but if there was any kind of magic that you could learn, like any kind that you could be doing something with in the world, what would it be? Birdie not exactly sure how to answer this question, still not sure what they want to say to Yazmin, but also just not exactly sure what all the options are, and not necessarily having the energy to ask for a full list, going, I don't know, I think just sticking to the basics for now is probably fine. Yazmin pushing one more time, like, you sure? Birdie just going, yeah, oh, crap, kind of glancing down at their watch, gathering all of their materials and resources and note pages really quick up into their bag for good, and slinging their backpack over their shoulder, saying, I kind of need to get to the lab to make it in time, but thanks, I will come to you if there's any specific focus that I figure out, finally. Yazmin saying, yep, all good, I'm always here to help. As Birdie somewhat rushes out of the lair to get going to their other academic responsibilities, Yazmin's face kind of immediately falling and huffing out a sigh of frustration as Birdie leaves, as it's proving a little bit more difficult to get more information out of Birdie than she was hoping to. As we are headed back to the administration building, as we are outside of 𝕾𝖍𝖆𝖗𝖃's office, our headmaster, of course, who is currently in there just having a little meeting with Florence, as the two are kind of catching up on some things since they have 3 new fledglings actually incorporated into the league now, just sort of having a standard check-in meeting here as Florence is letting him know, like, yes, they are coming along really well. I am particularly impressed by Maya, actually. Oh, I knew they weren't going to sit and talk, were they? But I want to say, like, oh, yes, I've been particularly impressed by Maya. She's been increasing by leaps and bounds each day. Her mental prowess is really strong. I think that she could be a real great when it comes to harnessing the metaphysical aspect of things. She kind of reminds me of myself sometimes when I first ended up here all those years ago, around the same age as her, actually. Dimitri saying, good, it's always good to have some other truly strong, worthy minds as a part of the league, so it is good to hear that. What about the other ones? And it is, Florence is kind of starting to get into a bit more of a report on things with her boss here. Someone is actually gonna burst just right into the door, burst into the office here as Dimitri just immediately looks up and scowls as Clementine just makes her way in without even knocking. Highly disrespectful, of course. Dimitri scowling over at her, being like, Clementine, what? Florence turning around as well, being like, Clementine, the headmaster and I are having a private business talk right now. What do you need? As Clementine is like, yeah, that's fine. Sorry for barging in, but it's just a little bit urgent. I just really needed to talk to you and let you know that, I mean, you should be thanking me, really. Dimitri, of course, growing very quickly tired of the rambling that she is prone to do. And he's like, just spit it out already. Clementine saying, yes, I found him. Dimitri saying, found who? What are you talking about? As she says, the one that you've been looking for that killed that girl at the perimeter, that we had to clean up real quick. That was a bit of a messy one, wasn't it? Dimitri kind of seeming impressed, but a little wary when it comes to things with Clementine responding, you found the culprit? Clementine saying, yeah, I did find the feral that killed that girl, and actually, I have him here with me. Might have brought him along, as Florence speaks up saying, you did what? Dimitri also kind of scowling at the girl saying, this was not at all a sanctioned mission, Clementine, as she has the audacity to kind of cut off the headmaster, realizing that she's not going to get anywhere and she just kind of cowers to him like her brother often does. Sims knows. Saying, yes, no, I know it wasn't, but things are pretty dire and we need to get a move on stuff, and I know that you're doing your best, kind of catching herself before she says too much, realizing that Florence is in the room and not wanting to royally piss off Dimitri here. But as she continues on saying, but listen, when there's dangers out there like that, we just kind of, I had an idea to get things to go a little bit faster, and so I just decided to implement it. And I figured that you should be happy that we have one less ne'er-do-well on the streets. Florence kind of cutting back in, though, saying, what do you mean that you have him here with us? Clementine quickly just going, oh, I mean, I just knocked him out and dropped him off on the front step. Both Dimitri and Florence kind of wide-eyed looking at each other and rushing out the door at that one. As that is not exactly the answer that they were expecting, but as both of them rush on out of the administration building here, Clementine kind of smirking, realizing that she's finally getting some attention, finally getting her way here, following them on out the door, as let's pretend they're vampirically running a little bit faster as they walk out, and do find a boy just knocked out here, lying on the dirt in front of the building, as Dimitri's like, Jesus, Clementine, do you have any kind of idea? Anyone could have seen this, as she says, well, yes, that's why it was an urgent matter. I realized you might not talk to me if I wasn't, it wasn't something that needed your immediate attention. As Florence is kind of just rolling her eyes, like saying, oh my God, Clementine, you really need to have a little bit more thought when you act on things. Clementine just, of course, blocking out Florence, never really listening to her in the first place, as she's like, I figured that, we could maybe keep him here and see what he knows, and at the very least, we can maybe get some justice for that girl. Florence starting to say, Clementine, that's not how we operate over here, but Dimitri just saying, both of you, pick him up, bring him inside, and follow me. Florence, a little bit surprised that Dimitri has given that order, but not necessarily wanting to stir the pot too much right now, and following his direction, grabbing the feet as Clementine goes and grabs the head. Not too difficult for them with vampire strength, of course, trying to get the body out of the way as quickly as possible. Florence just kind of hoping that her boss mainly wants to get this out of sight of any passerby, and hoping that he's not really truly going along with whatever half thought up plan Clementine has going on here. in the afternoon. On the other side of town, of course, we have Lena and Blake taking Maya and Lynx out for a little bit of faux froyo, I guess, as they can't really eat the human food anymore without it making them sick. But it's still nice to kind of get out with friends, and they do have like a couple of some plain bowls in front of them at their favorite little froyo joint a bit outside of campus here, as Blake is kind of showing the other girls, as him and Lena are doing the same, with the server kind of finally leaving them be, making sure that no one else is watching around Blake, being like, okay, listen, you can kind of get away with getting like a plain bowl of vanilla here like this, and if you squirt like a plasma pack on it when no one's looking, it, like, to the standard by, it just kind of looks like you have blueberries on it, and it'll give you a little tummy ache, but it's not going to make you vomit, and you can like sort of fake it, indulge for a second, okay? It's a secret hack the league doesn't really want you to know, as he gives like a little cheeky wink at Lynx and Maya there. Lena just kind of giggling and doing the same to her froyo here. Lynx and Maya sort of following suit, trying out this little hack that they've figured out here, as the four just kind of sit down to get to know each other a little bit more and hang out for a little bit, as Lena makes sure that the server kind of like stays away, kind of like focusing on the server for a little bit, and watching the server kind of turn back around and leave as Maya and Lynx sort of finish pouring plasma on their froyo there, as Blake is like, I mean, come on, Lena, you're always a little bit too paranoid. You don't need to like actually make sure that we're left alone. Lena's saying, listen, it's just a precaution. I want to be as safe as possible, and listen, it's really not that big a strain on me at all. It's just like a little simple suggestion. Maya, seeming curious at what she's saying, asking, what do you mean a little suggestion, as Lena says, oh, well, I mean, I wasn't sure how much you had really learned about what all is possible, but you can definitely sort of persuade people once you hone in some of your mental skills a little bit closer, like me, of course. Oh, my favorite trick, though, here, let's see. As Lena starts to kind of look around the restaurant, seeing what other passerby are, I swear to God, sit the fuck down, Sims. Took me so long to get you guys sitting at this booth. We're just gonna pretend they're talking, so if I try and make them talk, they're just gonna keep standing up. Anyways, as Lena just tries to look around the restaurant and kind of zero in, like staring at some of the other patrons in there, being like, okay, they're definitely on a date over there, and he thinks it's going super well, but she's really just hoping that she can get home to watch Vampire Time. Let's see. Oh, he over there is just worrying about all the calories he's putting on and feeling guilty about cheat day on this. And oh, that one's a little too explicit to get into in public, but must be why those thoughts are private. Lynx kind of seeming amused at what's happening to Maya, blushing at the last sentence, of course, as she's like, that's amazing. How as Lena's like, yeah, it's really not that big a, strain on you as long as you focus. It's pretty easy to be able to figure out what all the other humans are thinking, at least. As Lynx is kind of like, alright, do me next then. Maybe it'll be something that you can't say in public as well. As Lena kind of chuckles, making Maya blush even more, of course. But Lena's saying, I wish I could, but it only works on humans, unfortunately. You can't really tap into the brain of other vampires since you got similar powers coursing through you. It kind of acts as a natural block to those effects from other vampires. It's sort of a passive thing. I just tend to try and not pay attention to people's thoughts as much as possible. But it's a little fun to peek in when, you're looking for a bit of a laugh. As Maya is kind of amused with just taking all this information of things that, she might be able to do one day. Lynx finding it amusing, but not necessarily putting too much stock in it, since she knows that Maya's definitely got more of the mental aspect of everything on lock than her, at least. As Blake chimes in, you know, saying, listen, I got plenty of cool badass skills on my sleeve too. I just can't show them as passively as Lena, and I'm not planning on starting a fight at the froyo shop tonight. And Maya just saying, yeah, no, that's fine. This place is really cute, so thanks for at least taking us out. I mean, this is fun. I, you know, have been kind of wanting to get to know some of you guys a little bit more outside of the league anyways. Lena's saying, yeah, no, for sure. It's been super great training you, but I want to get to know you. Like, I want to be friends with you as well. Listen, you're both league members now, so you're basically family to me. And Blake is like, yeah, no, for sure. We'll look out for you outside of the league too. And yeah, this was one of Lena and I's favorite froyo places to go to before, you know, kind of making a little jokey gesture at like the fangs and stuff. So Lena just saying, yeah, I mean, it's just still a fun place to go hang out, even if we can't really enjoy it as much as we used to. Lynx asking then, you know, so were you guys friends before the league too? I mean, I know Blake and I kind of used to run in some of the same circles for a while back, but Lena's saying, yeah, no, we've been friends since freshman year, but when we accidentally ended up not paying too much attention at a party and standing on that darn symbol, you know, we kind of both ended up in the same situation. But it's been nice to have a friend here along with me, as Blake's just kind of staring at her, smiling as Lena kind of explains the situation. Starting to blush like a little bit himself too, as he just kind of nods along. And like, yeah, what she said. Lynx saying, yeah, I mean, it's been cool to have someone kind of my friend here as well. It's, I guess, helped with the transition for sure. As Blake kind of takes the lull in the conversation and takes a deep breath and starts up again saying, so, I mean, what do you guys think of all this stuff Florence has told you about the history of how this place was started? As he kind of looks up and sees Lena, like, sort of like shooting him a glance as she almost cuts him off, just being like, Maya, you and Birdie are really close, right? How is Birdie getting along with everything? I mean, I know they seemed busy tonight, they didn't really want to come out with us. Sort of shooting like a pleading look at Blake, him catching the hint to nix it on the League of Protectors conversation and at least drop it for now. And Blake, of course, just wanting to listen to Lena and understanding her concern as well, and letting Lena carry on with the other conversation, as Maya seems a little thrown off at the sorry, I just noticed that the stream is like really unstable. Here, we'll finish up this really quick, and then I will check in with you guys on how the stream is doing. But as Blake kind of drops the conversation, yeah, Maya seeming like a little bit thrown off with the quick switch in topics, but sensing that whatever like Blake was asking has been dropped, just responding like, I know Birdie's kind of frustrated, but they're doing all right. They'll come around. I think they just have a lot to process on it, not that we don't as well, you know. As Lena starts to just kind of give some comforting words about getting used to everything, the League and the vampirism and all. We are headed back to the administration building, as I said, down deep into the basement, as our little prisoner is awake now, who Clementine kidnapped and brought back to the League here, as just pretend that he's tied up to the chair, please. As Clementine has him tied up to the chair and still a little unresponsive, but starting to kind of come to. And Florence is standing here very uncomfortable with this entire situation, as Dimitri says, all right, this might be a good opportunity to get some information on how exactly the Pharaohs operate, and we do need to put a stop to some of their terrorizing of the campus. So keep him here. There's a plasma pack materials to the side. Don't give him too much, but make sure he stays alive, and we'll see what we can do with this. As Florence kind of starts in saying, Sir, you can't be serious. We're not going to keep a former student captive in our basement. As Florence takes like a closer look at the boy sitting here, Dsmitry saying former student, as Florence goes, yes, he was one of the star quarterbacks a couple of years ago. Don't you remember? No one really knew what happened to him, but I guess now we know where he ended up. And now he's ended up tied to a chair in our basement? This isn't exactly by the books, I don't think, as Dsmitry kind of cuts her off and says, I know where you're coming from, Florence. You're always coming from that place. And as much as I don't appreciate Clementine's insolence here, which, trust me, that has not been forgotten, young lady, and will be dealt with, but she is right in that we do need to do something a little bit quicker, and listen, if we can get some information here, then so be it. We might as well roll with what has landed on our doorstep, quite literally. And I will have no further discussion on that, as Dsmitry, of course, flies out of there as a bat. Florence definitely still seeming very upset, kind of chewing out Clementine a little bit herself, although Clementine seems satisfied with herself that even if mixed with a little bit of frustration in there, hey, she got a little bit of recognition in that sentence from the headmaster, so she'll take it, as Florence just kind of scowls at Clementine, saying, you are really towing the line, and you need to get things in order, okay? You can't just kidnap people and drop them on our steps, even if they are one of the ferals. Okay? They're still a human. They're still a person down deep underneath that. Don't forget that, okay? Otherwise, you'll end up just like them. As Florence kind of leaves the room, Clementine just kind of doing like a whatever lady at her, as both her and Dsmitry have exited the room, leaving Clementine to attend to her little prisoner here. But of course, once both of them have left, Clementine kind of smiles at the boy here, as he starts to kind of smirk back, immediately kind of snapping out of his daze and act of still being a bit out of it. Clementine saying, all right, I mean, you know the drill, right? As he says, yes, you and Mother went over it 1,000,000 times with me. I'm to pretend to be prisoner here. You'll make sure that I'm staying plenty nourished and taken care of with actual human blood, not your guys' weird fake plasma or whatever you called it that you want to feed to me, to make sure that I don't start to become domesticated by like you lot. And as long as I do this for Mother and appease whatever your plan is at the lair, I guess, then I will be spared. As Clementine says, yes, exactly. Just sit there, be a nice, pretty little prisoner, and just make sure that I get the recognition that I deserve for how amazingly and royally I owned you and captured you, and how amazing my plan is, okay? So thanks for going along with it, even though not that you really had that much of a choice, I guess. As Hero kind of rolls his eyes here, Clementine saying, I'll come down and watch you every now and then and let you out, but make sure that you at least pretend to be restrained anytime someone else comes in. We don't need the jig up to be that fast. We don't need the jig to be caught that fast, okay? As Hero's just like, yes, I understand. We'll catch back up at home here with Birdie in their bedroom, kind of looking over some of their findings, having been at the lab all day, looking into both their personal project, trying to analyze their own blood, to maybe figure out what is happening to them and their roommates, and also definitely trying to make some progress on Diana's research as well, to see what the hell she had going on, as Birdie is a little bit frustrated that they keep running into some dead ends, but trying to make sure that they're documenting what they're finding as they continue to do research, logging it onto their computer, kind of going along with their audio log, since they always do a little bit better, just expressing their thoughts out loud usually. So keeping up with their audio log, kind of speaking to themselves, the little recorder on their laptop, saying, things are moving slowly, and I fear that they'll come to a standstill soon, at least on the Diana front. My own personal findings are going well, I guess, even if confusing. I was hoping that the blood cells would look similar to those from patients of porphyria, but no dice. There's almost nothing different on a molecular level. I know it's magic or whatever, but I still have a hard time wrapping my head around a reality where there's absolutely nothing different about us on a biological basis. I'm not ready to give up finding a difference quite yet. As for looking through Diana's work, as they're kind of ruffling through some of the messy binders they've taken from the upstairs workspace as well, continuing. As much as I don't want to admit it, Yazmin did help me make progress by letting me know that whatever wacky instructions of hers I was following was close to a transfiguration potion. She's incredibly detailed on her own findings, but girl could be a little bit more diligent about citing her initial sources. I need to look a little bit more into transfiguration magic when I get the chance without Yazmin watching over me. Maybe it would be a good idea to ask her for some advice, but I don't know yet. The little bit of transfiguration magic that I could find in the tomes I have with me currently weren't super helpful, but there were enough similarities that I'm pretty certain she was at least using a transfiguration spell as a base. What was she trying to build from it, though? What were you hiding, Diana? I feel like I'm close, but I'm not quite there yet. As well, we'll leave Birdie to kind of continue their research upstairs, as it is, growing late into the night. It's as they've been home for a while from their little froyo date. Lynx and Maya, of course. Lynx just has been chilling in her room for a little bit. Maya walking down to go speak with her in her bedroom again, like she did quite a while ago at this point. Sort of knocking and waiting for Lynx to kind of scramble a little bit before calling, yeah, come in. Maya sort of walking in this time, trying to make a little joke about hearing the scrambling, saying, I mean, kind of know we're all vampires at this point. Don't really have to hide that from me. Lynx kind of smiling back, being like, oh, yeah. No, you're good. What's up? As Maya kind of notices that Lynx has been sort of packing together the big duffel bag that she saw her leaving the house with the other night again, but making sure that it's kind of like closed, as Maya sort of tries to look over at it but can't really see into it. Curious, but not necessarily feeling close enough to her roommate at this point to want to pry. Still a little bit scared of Lynx, let's be honest. As Maya's just saying, I mean, nothing much. I just wanted to know if you wanted to join us for movie night this night, and I just also wanted to say that it was fun getting froyo today, and I'm glad that we're at least at a place where we're not fighting all the time, even if you're still usually Lynx kind of smiling as Maya just continues to kind of flounder here and starts to blush a little bit as Lynx just kind of like smirks and says, a bitch to you most of the time, as Maya blushes harder and is like, I wasn't gonna say it like that, but Lynx saying, yeah, no, it's fine, I'm usually a bitch to you. Yeah, nerd, it's been more chill, at least. I'm glad that it's been calming your little nerves, that we're not getting into brawls all the time anymore. Maya's saying, yeah, no, I mean, it's just good to be civil. I guess that's all I wanted to say. I'll let you get back to it, kind of like referencing the duffel bag again as Lynx starts to look a little more nervous, saying, yeah, and sorry, I'll have to rain check on movie night again. I kind of need to get out of here. Got plans again tonight, so next time, maybe when it's not on Saturday, as she kind of gathers her stuff, realizing the time on a laptop. It's like, shit, yeah, no, I do need to get going. As she notices Maya kind of like looking a little bit concerned and worried here, and like a lot of stuff just like clanking around in Lynx's bag. Maya being like, I mean, you don't have to go off in the middle of the night to train or anything, as Lynx just kind of cracks the joke as she's heading out the door of, oh, don't worry, I'm just headed off to murder people in my spare time. I'm sure you already figured that. Laughing as Maya's face does go a little bit blank, not 100% sure if Lynx is joking, as Lynx just continues to laugh, headed on out the door. Birdie finally coming down the stairs, seeing Maya being like, oh, hey, did you ask Lynx about movie night? Maya saying, yeah, no, she was busy. Okay, do you know where she goes on Saturday nights? Birdie just kind of like, oh, no, I mean, is she usually gone? I guess I haven't kept up with her schedule like you have. Maya's saying, no, I'm not, I just... Whatever, how's, research going? Birdie, kind of sighing, saying, it's a little bit slow, but, you know, it feels like I am making progress and that I am getting somewhere. As Maya starts to pry a little bit, saying, have you asked for help from Yazmin or anyone else at the league yet? Birdie kind of looking away and sighing once more, saying, no, Maya, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I know that they are aware that Diana was working on stuff, but I think that we should keep this a little bit closer to the vest, everything that we found still so far. Just give it a little bit more time to make sure that they're 100% trustworthy with this information. I mean, maybe there was a reason that Diana wasn't telling them everything. I know that you're making fast friends with people there, but I guess I'm just a little bit more wary of everything at the league thus far. Maya's saying, yeah, no, I understand that, but they haven't given us any reason not to trust them so far either, and it could help you. Birdie, kind of frustrating Maya as they give her the look of, oh, you naive child, that Maya tends to hate Birdie giving them, but Birdie's like, yeah, I'll keep that in mind, but I just think we should err on the side of caution for now. Just, you also be careful in what you tell them until we're 100% sure that we should be, I don't know, letting them in on any other secrets besides this big one we're keeping from everyone. As Maya just doesn't really want to get into the discussion, knowing that when Birdie has a strong opinion like that, that she's not going to do anything to change their mind, saying, yeah, all right. Sounds good, Bird. The two settling in for their own movie night, without Lynx yet again, but having a nice night of best friends alone, at least. Maya at least happy that Birdie is stopping research for an hour or two. Headed back to the forest to end off here for tonight, as the wind is howling and the moon is high in the sky, as midnight is striking on the clock. And we see the Farrells gathering yet again with Aster here at the helm, some of her minions gathered around unconscious body laying at their feet, as Aster pulls out the scroll that Clementine gave her at the beginning of the episode here, fiddling with the dagger in her other hand as she slowly begins to raise the dagger high in the sky as she reads out from the prophetic scroll. It shall be then, once trees shed their leaves, a child in red still shall bring the rise of what was forgotten. The day stars fall from the sky, the guilty shall mark the rise of a kingdom. A sudden death shall bring forth the rise of hope and a strengthening of bonds. The day lion and bear live together, the scarred child shall cause the end of leadership and the end of wealth. Once summer ends, the accused shall bring an era of health and a rise of hope. As she takes a very deep breath, raises her dagger she's fiddling with in the other hand high in the sky, and plunges it into the body below everyone standing around. As a bit of a devious but hopeful smile grows across her face, waiting for something to happen. But what? We will have to find out next time, so we will leave them to do their bidding as we end tonight's episode right there. Hopefully you enjoyed our 4th episode, Stop the Bleeding. We are halfway through the season now, so we have 4 episodes left of Sharpest Tool before we move on to another Friday series that I need to get going on doing some prep work for. But I hope you're excited to see how the story continues on here. We got lots of little side plots going on now, lots of little characters doing their own thing, but of course we'll still be focusing on our main 3 moving forward into the second half of this story arc. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very, very much. These projects take a lot of time, and you know, they're very ambitious, and so I appreciate you guys' support as you let me try out other random weird creative things, and yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. That is all I have for you tonight. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a beautiful rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you all later. Mwah! Nighty night, kitties.